This is Bishop Weisenburger, and I'm here once again. I'm so grateful with Father Greg Adolf from Sierra Vista, longtime priest, and our unofficial historian for the Diocese of Tucson. I've learned so much from him since I've been here. He has immense insights. I'm not trying to flatter you too much, but I'm so grateful. And he's here to talk one more time with us, at least one more time, about Padre Kino. But I think where we left off, we were talking about the significance of Kino today, because it's in the time that I've been here that he's been declared a servant of God, and he continues to have immense recognition. So tell us about your understanding of Padre Kino's significance on our church and our culture today.
It's easy to speak about both because the cultural impact continues. The late folklorist Jim Griffith used to say every time you have carne asada or a quesadilla, you're paying homage to Padre Kino because of the introduction of cattle, wheat, cheese, all of the European husbandry and agriculture that he introduced to the area. And
he brought that.
All of that came with
Isn't
Padre
that incredible?
Kino.
Yeah.
The winter
Wanting
wheat.
to make the life better for the local people.
To break the feast-famine cycle.
Yeah, the cycle of hunger.
That so many were caught in this area and were so susceptible to drought or other catastrophe that broke that cycle because they were able to produce food year-round and reliable food sources. And again, kind of interweaving the native culture, food culture, and kind of a beautiful amalgamation. So I like that story that we're kind of eating part of the cultural history. I would like to say that I'd like to assert that a part of our cultural history here is collaboration and mutual respect and understanding between different races and cultures. That really comes from, if you will, the way we were addressed when European culture was introduced here, when that engagement took place, that encounter took place. Because of Kino and those like him, it was in many ways a gentle interaction, much gentler encounter than many other places. Mm-hmm. And that makes us somewhat unique. Again, that goes to Kino's style of evangelization, which is very much andragogy. You teach adults as if they're adults. You don't teach an adult as if they're a child.
Yeah.
They have as much wisdom as you do in other areas. So when he engages in this, in these encounters with Native Americans, it's always from that basis of mutual respect that you have information that I need to have as much as the information I'm bringing to you. You know where the water holes are in this desert. Critically important if you're riding across this desert, the Sonoran Desert. You need to know where the water is. They did and shared that information, for instance. So it was really a collaboration. I'd like to believe that's still marking our beautiful kind of culture. I'm old enough, Bishop, to remember when the whole area between Tucson and Hermosillo was simply called Borderlands. And there was so much shared culture. Well, many families were cross-border families, but so much of the culture was a shared culture between Hermosillo and Tucson, and I think that's part of Kino's legacy. Is that's the way we were taught to engage. I think that's a continuing legacy and a challenge now when so much fear of the stranger, fear of when building walls becomes the response to the neighbor rather than building bridges and seeking understanding, and where do we have common goals and common challenges that we can meet together. In terms of our church, Bishop, I think that model of evangelization, which is not just sharing good news, but being good news. That when you come into a relationship, you come into a situation, you come in not with suspicion or with a guarded fearfulness, but you come in with an openness and good news. He was good news, which is why he records that natives would come from many, many miles away begging him to come and evangelize, come and share the good news in their village. Yeah. Because he was himself good news. When he came, everything was a little bit better, a little bit brighter. And you alluded earlier in one of our talks and mentioned that he would draw maps on the bared ground in the middle of the village and show them where they were. Well, you know, his ability to give a sense of perspective, that really needs to be part of our vision, I think, of church today. Like, what's the biggest perspective that we can, what's the biggest map we can draw this on? How can we see this in a way that's not parochial, not regional, but really has a kind of a global vision that we really
of
are
the
Catholic.
whole body of Christ.
The whole body of
Catholic
Christ.
meaning universal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think he's a model for that for us.
I can see why there's been a move for his canonization, which I think is being handled primarily, isn't it, by the Jesuit order and then out of Trent?
Correct, Bishop. Yeah, the Archdiocese of Trent is now has the
Postulator?
responsibility with the postulator, with collaboration, of course, from Hermosilla, and just recently your brother Bishop Jose Leopoldo Gonzalez of Nogales led a delegation of priests from that diocese and two of our own priests here in the working in the Diocese of Tucson, Father Fregoso and Father Pete Neely at the Kino Border Institute, that they went to Senio, to the birthplace. We're there on August 10th for the celebration of the birthday and Mass with the Archbishop of Trent. Went to Austria because now the Austrians are becoming more and more interested in Kino.
Intrigued, yes.
Maybe as the impact of migration into Europe. Maybe again, he may be again a model of how you engage and how you welcome. And then they went on to Rome to speak to the officials there to see where things are going. So it seems like things are moving along now. He's been declared venerable.
We start out at when the Holy See says, based upon this basic information, this person may be venerated. This is a model for us of discipleship. The next step, I did this with Blessed Stanley Rother in Oklahoma. I was on that team. The next step, it usually takes years and a good chunk of time, is really intense investigations into the life and activities of the person. And then the dicastery, it's a fancy word for an office, the office of recognizing saints in the Vatican, they would then recommend to the Holy Father that the man or the woman be declared blessed. That usually takes a miracle that's verified by the scientific world, the medical world or scientific world. And then after that, you would typically need one more miracle. I know it gets a little complicated, but you would typically need one more miracle to be declared a saint. It's one less if the man is a martyr. Like the case I dealt with in Oklahoma, we clearly had a martyr there. But for someone of heroic virtue, they call it, with Padre Kino, typically we need a miracle for him to be elevated blessed. And actually, I have this card here. For those listening, this card has embedded in the corner, we had a very, very large spool of ribbon, of fabric, placed on his skeletal remains. It was then blessed. It's been put into very tiny pieces and embedded in these beautiful holy cards, which anyone can get in the here at our chancery at the Bishop Kikanis Pastoral Center. On the first floor, right inside the front door, you'll find these beautiful holy cards which contain this third-class relic. And I love it. There's beautiful prayer on the back for Padre Kino's canonization, and I strongly encourage our faithful to invoke him, especially in great need, because I think I believe him to be a saint of great love for the people of this area that lingers. And so I would love to be there to celebrate his elevation, first as blessed and then as saint.
Well, we know in the early days of the church there was popular canonization. One could make the argument in some ways the people of our area have already canonized Padre Kino.
And for someone to be considered for recognized sainthood, certainly we know there's hopefully millions of saints whose names we wouldn't even think of, but it wells up from the people. It's not supposed to be the church saying, this is someone you should, it comes from the people. And I sense, my heavens, for 300 years, people have loved this man and looked to him as an example.
Bishop, we had a wonderful sharing a few weeks ago with the friars at San Javier, and they were talking about Padre Kino with one of the elders of the Tohono nation, that the question was asked about Kino, and the elder's response was, well, you know, he was one of us. I think that, I hope that all of us in this area can say, he's one of us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Father Greg, this has been just so helpful. We may have to have you back in the future, I don't know.
I'd be delighted.
But every time you come back, I feel like I grow in understanding, but also appreciation for this wonderful man. So again, anybody who would like to have one of these relics, in order to venerate Padre Kino, to call upon him for assistance in any need, they're available here at our chancery. And Father Greg, thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Bishop.
God bless.
Thank you.